Alright, how we doing, folks? Your boy Marcus1205 numbers. After the name, little games beating action, a little Halo Infinite over here, man. I'm really looking forward to this game. I'm not the biggest Halo guy. I know it exists. I've played it. It's cool, but it's nothing like anything crazy. I think I've played them all at this point. I really got caught up at the beginning of the Xbox generation. That Master Chief Collection really is where I kind of got caught up in. Like I said, I'm not the biggest Halo guy. I think as a first-person shooter, it's a little bit limited. I don't know. I don't think it's that cool to like have takes that Halo isn't really that good. I think for the most part, it's supposed to say Halo's great and that's it. I understand the importance it had for the Xbox. I understand it had the importance of having first-person shooters on consoles. I get all that, but the crux of the Halo games to me is kind of limited. They're good, but they're limited. But Halo Infinite was taking it kind of in a new direction with open world kind of action, and for the most part, I'm also not the biggest open world guy. I'll play open world games. I have no problem with them. I'll enjoy some. Sometimes I'll sink more time into some than others. Sometimes I'll just kind of keep it moving. It really all depends. If your open world's like extremely bloated, a bunch of random stuff, you know, Assassin's Creed sometimes, not really that into it. Having said that, I've played all the Assassin's Creed except Valhalla, so, you know, take that for whatever it's worth. Valhalla's on deck, by the way. I literally just don't know when the hell I have time for it. Anytime I hear that the game's like huge, like Dying Light 2 got a little bit of flack recently when it came out because of how like long it was. And you can make a game however long or short you want it to be, but it is slightly a negative to me when I hear your game's gonna be like 5,000 hours, and I'm like, oh, that's gonna take a lot of time. Yeah, I don't have that right now. But it depends what stage and what point of your life you're at. It depends where you're at, like financially too and stuff like that. Hey, listen, man, all you could do, kind of like when I was growing up, if you could just afford one game a year, then you might want to get that one that takes like 500 hours to beat. So to each their own on that. But going back to Halo Infinite, I do think they did a very good job over here because the open world is very limited. It's very small. I'd actually be nervous of what Halo Infinite 2 looks like because I feel they'll just blow it up, and at that point it'll be too big. But I like these shorter open worlds, much more contained with stuff to kind of look in and kind of figure out in a limited scope. I do feel the world's a little bit empty still, even with how short and small it is. Like there's just empty fields after empty fields. But overall, I think they did a very good job in the first direction. I will have to point out one thing. The grappling hook, to me, is probably the best implementation of a grappling hook I've seen in a video game. It is so good. It is so good in traversal. It is good in combat. But like, it makes the traversal so much more fun. And it really makes you fun just going around the world. A feeling that I'm not sure I've had since Breath of the Wild, where you would go like sailing or like climbing on things like that, where it made you feel like you could go anywhere. It's kind of the same feeling I felt here with this grappling hook, where I was like, okay, that's like really high up. But if I grapple a certain way, I could get through that. It's kind of weird going back to playing Blackout and then having that grappling hook, which is really good as well, but kind of limited compared to this grappling hook in Halo. Outside of that, though, the story, I think the story went well. It ended kind of weird, I believe, for me. I was like, all right, it's over. The last boss fight was a little bit difficult, but nothing really too crazy. They set it up very well, I think, for what will be a sequel. But once again, my nerves with a sequel is how big do we make the open world. I think having it contained and having it in that small environment kind of thing really made for this experience. Once you kind of kick it open and blow it up to maybe other planets or just a bigger open world in general in the Halo that we're on here, it'll be interesting where it goes. So definitely a better improvement over 5. I'd probably put it above 4. And then after that, you got to stop thinking of what you want. I think Halo 2 is kind of revered as the top of the series. I would tend to agree that out of those first Halos, it was probably my favorite. Some people like Reach, some people like ODST. That's a whole different beast over there. I've only played those once. I don't really have much of a commentary on that. So overall, I think a very good and positive step over here for Halo and something it needed. Now, the multiplayer doesn't seem to be holding up. We'll see how that goes over the long term over here.